I am a slave to process because we have a breaking news graphic. That's how we start these things. And even though it was yesterday, the world took us all in different directions. Weddings, funerals, out and about. Like, we were all over the place yesterday. So we weren't able to bring you breaking news as it happened. We still have the news for you because I think it's very important to get that information to you. And this is a pretty big one. Sean Fitz with us. He is our senior recruiting insider for Blue White Illustrated. Fitz, what is the information that came out yesterday that we're talking about today?
Well worth the wait, I would say. Penn State on the board with a headliner in the class of 2024. Jacksonville cornerback from Mandarin High School, Jon Mitchell. I think he's really good, really good. He's one of those guys that was on the radar early for Penn State. Other schools kind of had to catch up with this. This is a Terry Smith special. He went in, did the eval, made him a priority from the jump, and that's kind of how Penn State got on top of that one. On 3, I'll be honest with you, I'm surprised he's flown up the rankings as quickly as he could. I thought this was a secret that was waiting to be kept, but number 61 nationally, number 8 cornerback in the country by On 3. The industry has him at number 145, number 15 cornerback nationally. So there's a lot to like there. I don't know that he's elite in any one area, but so many boxes are checked. I hate to make the comparison, but it reminds you a lot of Kalen King coming out in just that he does so many things well. He's got the speed. He should go under 11 seconds in the 100 this year. He's got the size. We probably short him a little bit. He's about 5'11 and a half. We have him listed at 5'11. Good genes. A couple older brothers there are FBS players. There's a lot to like here. Good length. I don't know these Joey Porter. He doesn't have 34-inch arms or anything like that, but solid length, can tackle, come up and play physical, man, zone, whatever you want. Jon Mitchell can do it. And I'm a big fan of his, have been for a long time. So to see him in this class is a really, really good pickup for Penn State. And I will tell you this, the Kalen King comparisons do not come lightly from me. I was a huge King fan coming out. I think Mitchell's got a lot in his game. We will see where he ends up in a couple of years, but it's a good place to start.
Corner is such an interesting place to scout because, looking at him on film, I think you'd agree with this. You would think, oh, wow, 32.5-inch arms. Like, he's got long length. He's got good size. And even if he's a little bit smaller than that, the effective usage of those tools is really what stands out about Jon Mitchell. A really good football player, fluid, aggressive, smart, everything that you mentioned with Kalen King, the things that maybe he doesn't have physically that Joey Porter has, the mentality, all of those things show up when he plays corner. And I see what you're saying of the comparisons to Kalen King are all kind of in the mental and also the physical build, but how they both play with that confidence and that aggressiveness, I think can really make you stand out as a corner, even if you don't have elite tools. And I love this when it's like, oh, wow, he's not as big as I thought, instead of, oh, wow, he's bigger than I thought, because he's not playing to that size. So great potential here for Jon Mitchell, and really helps reset this class, I think, in a lot of different ways at corner.
Absolutely. I mean, you go out and you get a Florida kid, and it's a Florida kid, so you're gonna have to recruit him all the way. You had his teammate Antoine Belgrave Shorter on campus this weekend as well. That went really well. So like, there's a lot from the recruiting side, but also from the football side. I mean, you were looking at the Penn State fans getting a little testy for the guys that not the high 4-star guys. This is your top 100 guy. Hopefully, for Penn State's sake, get some things rolling. I think they're excited about some guys that they could potentially get this spring before that wave of official visits, because that's kind of the window that we're in right now. Is you're getting these spring visits, and usually a guy pops, usually a lineman pops at the blue-white game. That's kind of how the things have gone the last several years. But you go to that, and then you kind of hit a lull in May, where you're waiting for official visits. Those June official visits have become so big in this recruiting game. So to get a boost like this, I mean, they didn't come into the week expecting to get Jon Mitchell this soon. Like, they really thought that it would be a setup visit where you have him on campus from Thursday to Sunday, do everything you can possibly do to make him, feel confident in that he can come back in June and eventually finish the job in June. So they got this one across the line quicker than you would think. He was at Miami last week. He's been at Florida State twice. He was at Notre Dame last weekend. So that's a pretty good weight class to be punching at if you're Penn State. So just from multiple angles, when you're looking at the class of 2024, Jon Mitchell, a very, very big get for the Nittany Lions.
So this also has to do with some ties as well to former teammates. Cam Miller's a big person in this story as well. Obviously, Terry Smith recruits him, but some of those relationships that Penn State is building in Florida, did that play into the decision process as much as it may seem?
Yes, I think so. I think it's more about not so much Cam Miller and is he playing, is all that kind of stuff. Is he having a good experience? Because the defensive backs coach at Mandarin, Cavante Campbell, did a really good interview with Ryan Snyder back in February. You should check that out because that's kind of where we set the table with Penn State being a legitimate player for not only Belgrave Short or Mitchell, but also Belgrave Shorter. Campbell also considers Cam Miller to be like a son to him, basically. So that's this web of relationships that we talk about that just goes beyond the coach and the player. Penn State did a phenomenal job here of establishing that with the player, but also the people around him and earning that trust. So I think Cam Miller's experience so far, and by the way, Cam Miller's going to play this year. Like he's going to be Penn State's fourth corner, and he's going to play a decent amount. So getting him on campus, playing him as a freshman, albeit mostly special teams, setting him up for his second season on campus to play. That I think that's certainly a blueprint for what you can look at with Mitchell. It'll be interesting though because you won't have Johnny Dixon next year. Storm Duck is a senior. Kalen King is a senior. Daquan Hardy's going to move on. You've got so many guys that are. Or sorry, Kalen King's not a senior. Kalen King's going to be in the draft next year.
Definitely going to move on for sure.
Looking at basically, it is a complete rebuild of the cornerback room in 2024, which spells opportunity for a guy like Mitchell to come in and play. I think they'll still hit the portal. They'll still look in the portal this spring for a guy that's got multiple years. They'll look in it after the season next year to try and expedite that process. But this is an opportunity in the class of 2024. You've already got Kenny Wosley. You've got Mitchell. You feel pretty good about things with Belgrave Shorter. Jameer Grimsley was a couple weeks ago. All of a sudden the corner room is looking okay. And, you're not going to bring in guys that are, not ready to go, not as ready to go as some of the prospects that you've had over the years. But I just feel like we're repeating ourselves here. Terry Smith has flipped that room, just completely flipped the narrative of what it is to be a defensive back at Penn State. He's going to have a first-round pick in Joey Porter. He's got Kalen King, who is probably more talented than Joey Porter, just doesn't have the natural gift that Joey has. So yeah, they flipped that thing pretty good, and I think people are taking notice. Again, he's from Florida. You're going to have to continue to recruit him. You're going to have to continue to recruit his teammate. But for them to get this across the line on April 1st is pretty insane when you talk about the competition that they were going against with at least two of the three Florida schools, big Florida schools pushing for him.
So a good football player, Kenny Wosley, also a good football player. Both are smart, aggressive. They have kind of a similar profile. Position versatility for Mitchell, because I've looked at Wosley as a really quality slot guy. I know he can play on the outside, but I think that's where he would shine. Does Mitchell have that versatility from what you've seen? And, how do those two fit together in your mind as you're building this defensive back group?
Yeah, the only piece that I'd like to see on Mitchell is some short area quickness numbers, those shuttle numbers, to give us a better idea if he could play in the slot. I think he's got the body type for it. Like I said, 5'11 and a half, decent length, can turn and run. I mean, you look at his tape, and it's highlight tape for a reason, obviously, but he is running routes for his receivers. You don't typically see that at the high school level, especially high Florida ball. So I think that he can play inside out. I think he's probably more of an outside guy at this point, kind of in the Johnny Dixon mold.
Yeah.
But there's a lot to like about the versatility that they're looking for. Again, Grimsley is 6'2 plus, so like he's automatically an outside guy. Belgrave Shorter is a little bit bigger, a little bit more college ready, maybe more in that corner safety mold, like that you're looking for as a hybrid. I think Jon Mitchell is probably just an outside corner that can play inside if need. Wosley probably going to end up being a slot guy, and that's the thing we talked about when he committed. You can surround him with bigger players, longer athletic players. You're pretty good to go in that.
Yeah, especially now adding a top 100 player in the On3 rankings, top 200 in the industry rankings with Jon Mitchell. So it's shaping up to be exactly what you and I talked about last time in what you just outlined, where they're getting those players. And I think that's the really important thing. You mentioned, the outgoing crop of defensive backs. If Penn State wants to continue to be what they've been defensively and to continue that high level, corner is ultra important. in that. So with Elliot Washington, a top defensive back in his class, now Jon Mitchell, Kenneth Wosley, they have they are continuing that where there was an opportunity where you maybe missed on some guys, maybe some top 100 guys that went to Georgia, but you still are getting a good crop of quality corners to keep that level of play in the secondary where it needs to be to continue to build a defense and a team that can compete at the highest level. So a corner is just a very important position. I just want to highlight that. Outside corner, this is a huge get, not just because of the talent of the player, not just because of the quality of the person and the type of athlete that Penn State recruits normally, but also the position. Like acing corners is super important. So any last thoughts on Mitchell or kind of where we are now in the class as we get out of here?
Yeah, they've come so far, and it's really helped them that they've developed corners in different molds. Every corner that's over 6', 6'1", they're saying you can be the next Joey Porter. Every corner that's shorter but also really skilled, you can be the next Kalen King. So it gives you some versatility in your pitch. So you're not just saying, "Hey, come here and be the next Micah Parsons," even if you're a 230-pound middle linebacker. So there's versatility there, and they've done a phenomenal job. Terry's done an excellent job, not only with high school recruiting, but portal recruiting, developing his guys. And for a guy that I know people have called on to retire in the past or move over and be an offensive coach or whatever, guy just keeps getting it done. And that's really cool to see.
So we'll keep you up to date on whatever happens from here. The recruiting show coming up tomorrow, that'll just be me and Ryan Snyder. He'll be back. We'll be recapping Jon Mitchell and the rest of the weekend because it's not just Mitchell that was here, as he just alluded to. Fitz said Antoine Belgrave Shorter, another quality defensive back on campus, and then some, and then some, and then some. Recruiting is a fire hose of information. We take all that information, we break it all down and give it to you in understandable ways on Mondays and Fridays, and with breaking news. So subscribe to Blue White Illustrated here on YouTube so you don't miss any of that. We'll talk to you tomorrow.